Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Town of Rhinebeck Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for March 20th, 2024. And we have all the board members here, so we certainly have a quorum, which is good. It's always nice and preferred. The first item of business after that is to take a look at, we have two sets of minutes. The first is the proposed minutes for the January 17th meeting. Did everybody have a chance to take a look at the drafts that were supplied? I looked at them, I didn't see any changes or corrections, but any corrections, concerns, comments? No? Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. All right. All right, so that's January 17th. Then we have another set of meetings for the last meeting, which was February 21st of 2024.
Greg, did you have a question on the February meeting? Did you have a highlight
Yeah,
there?
about the motion to continue the Williams application. Does anybody remember who did those motions?
I probably
Because the
did.
camera cut out.
I probably did the motion because I've been doing that.
Well, who did the second though?
I'll pick Catherine.
I probably, yeah, probably Catherine probably.
Okay, most likely, we'll go with that.
It was done.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was continued to tonight's meeting.
Yeah, which will happen again, I understand as well. Yeah, okay. All right, so with that,
I don't know anything, I wasn't there at that meeting, and I think my name was on there, so,
Did I put it on there?
yeah, so,
yeah, she gave attendance.
I shouldn't have said that. Okay. He's
That's
crazy.
all right. Any other corrections, comments? All right, hearing none, I will make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented with the correction, addition, or whatever of the motion.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
And just a quick change to the agenda, Scott. The wireless edge should be, it's a continued public hearing, so it will be a public hearing. I understand the applicant asked for an adjournment, but it's under public hearing, not under old
Right.
business.
And is it 7:05? Pretty close. Because I wanted to move up the wireless. We can't do anything. We're still waiting for the secret review on that. And they asked
Right,
that
yeah,
we
yeah.
adjourn, so I wanted to,
So that they can be on the.
yeah, so they can be on
Sure,
their way.
okay, okay.
If that's
Yep.
acceptable? All right. All right, so it's 7:05. And I'd call the case of 1053 Wireless Edge, which is Rugies. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Robert Codioso on behalf of the applicants.
Good evening. And I understand that we really can't do anything here this evening because the planning board has not made a secret determination. So we
That's
requested an adjournment.
Yes.
And we're more than happy to grant that. And hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have the secret determination. We can move forward.
That'd be great. And that's the April,
17.
April 17th is the next ZBA meeting. The next planning board meeting that Laura was definitely on is April 15th, I believe, correct?
correct.
Do they expect, Kim, do you know, do they expect to have that determination by then?
I'm not sure if they're going to have seeker. I know that, I wasn't at the planning board meeting, but I believe that John Lyons passed out the EAF Part 2 so that the planning board could get ready for seekers. And we've also, we're waiting on the consultant's reports, George James for visual and Ron Gray for RF, and we're hoping to have those reports by the April 15th meeting as well.
Okay, so I guess my thing is if we still don't have a secret determination, if you want to, ask in advance,
Thank
so
you.
you don't have to come up from Westchester,
I appreciate it.
I'd contact Gretchen and, you don't have to come in here.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman. I appreciate the courtesy.
So hopefully we'll see you on the 17th, but if not, we'll see you in May.
And Scott, I would just ask, is anybody here for a public comment for Wireless Edge?
Yeah, that's good.
I'm sorry?
Anybody here to make a public comment for the Wireless Edge application?
No, I'm not. This is first look at her.
Okay. Yeah, so do you want to just make a motion to?
Yeah, a motion to adjourn.
And continue?
I'll make a motion that we continue the public hearing on the wireless edge matter until April 17, 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, see you on the
Thank you for the courtesy
17th.
this evening. We'll see you next
Thank you.
month. Thank you.
Take care. All right, so since we're doing the public hearings, we might as well do Fern Club. That's next. Anyone for Fern Club? Ah,
Hello, Scott.
hello.
Board, good to see you.
Okay, we do have somebody here.
We do.
You're attending the public hearing, so they're going to tell you what they want to do, and if you have any questions, concerns, once they're done with their presentation, please feel free to come on up, introduce yourself, and ask whatever questions you have. Okay?
And the microphone's right behind
I'm going to change things up a
Thank you.
little bit.
Are you a representative of Timely Signs?
I am, yes, I am, sir.
Is there anybody here from the Arch Care Management?
No, there's not. We are doing a new sign to replace an aging existing sign. It is essentially the same size and format that the previous sign was, and that had also been granted a variance many years ago, 10, 12 years ago. The sign is going in the exact same spot. It's going from a sign that is primarily white with white posts to a darker sign with black posts and a dark field with white text. So in my opinion, it's a little bit less conspicuous, but that is the Arch Care brand that they have moved to. It's pretty much a maintenance-free aluminum cabinet, relatively discreet, and again, same location, just replacing a sign like size and height as to what's currently in place. Do you guys have an image of the existing sign?
I do.
You do, okay.
Here it is, right?
Yeah, it's kind of past its useful lifespan.
What copies?
Do you want
No, I'm not familiar with it, I just didn't know
Okay.
if anyone in the public
Why don't you, yeah,
was not
put it up
familiar
there
with
so
it.
they can get it on camera.
Yeah. So this is the existing location. It's fairly small, lower than the street sign. It's kind of back, and right now that's white. The new sign will probably be less visible than that. I think the existing sign is 15 plus years old. It's kind of worn out. It was made with wood and natural materials. This one is made of composite and aluminum, powder coated, so longer lifespan should hold up a lot better.
Now, you said like size and height. Is it exactly the same size, exactly the same height, or what if any?
No, it is exactly the same as this. That's what our charge was, to essentially replace this with the new standard for Arch Care, and that's what we do.
And same exact location. I'm just going to pull that out and put the new one in.
Yes, after calling Dig Safe.
Just for the record, we did get some comments from Dutchess County. They have some concerns about the signage area and the text and things like that. I assume you probably saw that letter.
I was not provided with that letter. Okay.
Do you want me to pull it up, Scott?
Yeah, would you?
Scott, would you mind speaking into the microphone?
Okay.
Just to make sure everyone's hearing.
I brought that up at the last meeting, that there's a lot more smaller text on the sign, on your new sign than what's on the old sign. And Dutchess Planning brings it up as well, as far as suggesting that the sign contains more information than needed for its primary purpose. I mean, in a way, having that small type could cause a problem with motorists as far as slowing down and trying to read, like, what is that smaller type? I mean, you're not going to have any walkers coming by to try and find you, I don't think. So I don't know the purpose of the smaller type. Just wanted to be safe, that's all.
Yeah, I respectfully disagree that that small text would be something that people are gonna slam the brakes on to look at. I think this is a destination that is not an impulse response. I think the Arch Care brand is the primary. A lot of the smaller text basically states, it's almost like a legal copy. It states that Arch Care is part of the Archdiocese of New York. It's fairly small, it's indiscreet, it's really, I'm not gonna say that it's throwaway copy because it is informational, but it's very much secondary or tertiary information compared to the primary, which is Arch Care at Ferncliff, which is what, family members, visitors from out of town looking to visit a loved one would be looking for. They just need to identify the facility to the outside world. It looks like a historic without that sign, it looks like a private historic mansion, to be honest with you. That's what's happening along all of those, all along River Road. Without that sign, it would be difficult for someone to ascertain that.
Well, I can see having the sign, but the small print, I don't see how that's needed. I mean, I guess reasonable.
I'm just saying that it's, Scott, what I was basically saying is that I don't believe that it's going to cause someone to come to a screeching halt looking to read that. I'm just saying that if someone is looking for the facility, that the Arch Care text is 10 times the size of the legal text, and the legal text is there because that is what it's basically letting people know that this facility is operated by the Archdiocese of New York. If it becomes problematic, if you feel very strongly about not having that text on there, I can contact the Archdiocese and ask them if they would like to remove the text from the sign.
There's no text like that on the existing sign, it just says Ferncliff.
I can check.
It's hard to see.
Yeah, I know, well, it's a kind of a blurry photo. Let me see if I have a version of that in here. It does have the existing sign does have small text. I can throw my glasses on.
You just pass out copies of these, I have like 5.
Okay. And
Yeah, it does say the continuing care community of the Archdiocese of New York on the existing sign.
And sir, could you state your name for the record?
Bob O'Connor Jr.
Good evening. Always like to know who's giving you presents.
There is small type on that as well. It's interesting.
And can we have
Just throw away
someone
a
down
copy.
for the record?
Yeah.
It's been on a sign that's been on there for decades. So.
Yeah.
I just want to take a look at
Take
it.
it back.
It's got, yeah, here, I just don't want to see
I think the other comment from Dutchess County Planning was if the text wasn't needed, if it could be removed and then have a smaller sign, that was the other purpose of it. I know how the board feels about it, I just wanted to clarify.
I can tell you how I feel about it, and the last time around, I was actually on the board, I think, and, I have real concerns about the sign law and it having signs, too small, and people are always coming here to have signs of appropriate size, especially with people going by at 35, 45, whatever it is, 55 miles per hour in certain areas. So I had no problem with the sign size the last time around because I think you really need it. If you don't have something that size, people are going to be slowing down and causing problems. But I guess you are, it is similar, small,
Yeah,
which I didn't realize.
I didn't either. Yeah.
I think the coloration of the new sign makes it less legible at that
Mhm.
small size.
Yeah.
The red makes it less legible?
The new sign is, the small type in the new sign is less legible, I think, because of color. The white on the grayish color.
I have a quick question. The Arch Care on the old sign and the new sign, are they the same size, the lettering?
I don't know that they are, to be quite honest with you. We're just dealing with the outer bounds of the sign, and the size of the logo is now dictated by the most current rebrand of the Archdiocese, which has their own specifications. This is the older sign was at least 15 years old, and there's a different set of parameters at that time, so this current sign reflects the most recent design, and we've basically applied those metrics to the size of the sign that's being proposed now.
Would you mind providing a copy of that? That's the existing sign, right?
Mhm.
You don't have, if
Oh.
you could just send a copy to correction.
Sure.
That might be helpful, because that looks like that has the dimensions on it. That's one of
Yeah.
the planning board's questions.
Sure. We kept the exact same physical dimensions of the sign. I think in terms of the visibility, could we use a larger sign? Yes. The iteration before the current sign was 2 individual single-sided signs mounted at a 45-degree angle. So significantly, twice the number of signs of the same size. So this is essentially half the square footage. As far as I know, that the folks from Arch Care were approached and said they needed a variance for the 2 individual signs, and at some point we ended up moving it to a single double-sided sign in its current location, and that's so that was an interim step between the direct replacement of the much older signs from Ferncliff to what is there now, and this is just basically exact same size, format, height as what's currently there. It's just a newer iteration in color. So that's where we
Sir,
are.
would you like to be heard? Do you have any questions, concerns, or?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so come on up. Why don't you come up and state your name, your
First
address?
question, if I say,
Yeah, and actually, Scott, did you open the public hearing?
Oh, okay, yeah. I make a motion to open the public hearing. Do I have a second? Okay, it's open. Has been.
if you wouldn't mind entertaining a few questions, it might resolve many of my concerns for being here to start with.
Okay.
The announcement is a bit ambiguous in my opinion. It says required 8 square feet. What is the size of the existing sign? I didn't measure it before coming down.
And sir, if I
That's
may
correct.
just, oh, sorry, go ahead.
The current sign is 32 inches high by 43 inches wide, which is 8 square feet.
Oh, okay.
So the requirement in the public notice is what's required by the zoning law? The
Right.
zoning law requires that the signs be 8
So
square
required and existing mean the same thing?
feet. No, required is what the zoning law requires, which is 8 square feet, and the existing sign is already over that.
Oh, it is?
Yes, that's what,
I'm sorry, it requires 8 square feet?
I believe that's what it,
Because the existing sign is 8 square feet.
it's 8 square feet on both, for both sides, total 8 square feet.
Okay.
You have here that the required, that it's 9.56 square feet on both sides for a total of 19.12 square feet.
Okay.
That's what the zoning, that's what, in both the determination letter too.
Well, this is, then this must have gotten a variance for the same thing. Because the singles, we're counting single square, the one side of it. Essentially, most municipalities for a double-sided sign only count one side.
Yeah, we've had discussions with the zoning enforcement officer over time. They've interpreted that when it says 8 square feet total signage, that means 8 square feet per, in total, so 4 on each side.
It's basically the size of the panel.
Yeah. And here's the determination letter, which just provides that. 9.5 square feet on both sides for a total of 19. So you probably did, you said you got a variance previously. The existing
Arch
zoning-
Care applied for and received a variance.
Yeah, so
yeah.
based on
So-
the current zoning law,
Mhm.
the requirement is 8 square feet total signage. This is why you're in front of the
Okay.
board. I want to explain that the requirement is what's for the current zoning law, not for what the existing sign.
Okay, that's helpful, but isn't it true that the existing side is 8 square feet per side?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions?
So you're seeking an additional little over a foot per side, is that correct?
Correct.
It certainly stills my objections. I didn't understand this, but I didn't understand the proposal when I at first glance. It's much clearer now. However, I do have some points to make with respect to our neighborhood, which I appreciate voicing.
You have the opportunity, that's why we have
Yeah,
a
that's,
public hearing.
if you would like, would you
Yeah.
like?
Yeah, why don't you come on?
to the microphone?
And again, state your name, your address, and then your comments for the record.
My name is Bob O'Connor Jr. I live at 232 River Road, which is almost directly across the street from Ferncliff. Live next door to the Frost household. It's now the Steinberg's residence. And so it's a matter that impacts us directly. And I'm a neighborhood advocate. I'm more of a neighborhood advocate than I am an advocate for the commercial interest of Arch Care. And it seems clear to me that they are seeking to expand their brand. It's not just here in Ferncliff. As you travel around Dutchess County, you see the Arch Care brand emerging in many different iterations and in many different locations. So I completely understand the commercial and economic value of expanding your brand. They've got to promote their business, otherwise they're not going to be able to survive. However, I'm a neighborhood advocate, and for years and years, that facility was under the management of the Carmelite nuns. I don't know how many of you remember the signage they used to have down there. You might, Richard. It was a very modest traffic street sign size Ferncliff Nursing Home. No traffic control signage. You barely knew the place existed. And I don't know that there was any diminishment of their commercial and economic prospects when the signage was so modest. And on the same token, I don't know that an expansion of the signage is going to result in any advancement of their commercial and economic interests. And I haven't heard any argument that they're not getting their way of the additional signage is going to result in the harbor loss to them. However, I think it's certainly, you know, as these signs emerge around River Road, there's somebody who has an interest around the corner on Astor Drive, there's somebody down the street who's got a pet care facility, very modest signage. From my point of view, I just assume it did not exist on River Road. But at any rate, it's very modest. I'd like to see the signage kept to a minimum on River Road. However, seeing the proposal on this new signage, it's not particularly objectionable to see the small enlargement that they're looking for. But as I say, I'm a pro-neighborhood advocate. And I'd like the residential character of that area of the town preserved. It's just a matter of hearsay. I don't know if any of you, Richard, may have heard this, that one of the owners who lives in that facility had made the proposition that if Ferncliff were to be closed down, they would buy the property and demolish it and turn it back into a full residential setting. Somebody did that down on Morton Boulevard not long ago, as some of you may know, which is pretty remarkable event. But those are my remarks. I just wanted to leave you, I'm the pro-neighborhood guy. I want to see it kept away. But I don't greatly object to this very modest increase in the size of the signage.
Thank you for your comments, and I think
I did not clearly understand the breadth of the proposal when I first read it.
and I don't think as before, 15 years ago, and I think it's now, the increase in the signage was just so that people could see it when they were going down River Road. I mean, it's really, it has to be a certain size in order for people to see it. And the law, in my opinion, does not allow for that. And, you know, you don't want to obviously have huge signs, but the minimum signs so people can actually see, you know, where this facility is so they can visit or do whatever. And I think, you know, it is pretty close to what is there or perhaps identical. And, you know, it's not for commercial purposes. It's really for, I believe, just so people can see, you know, see where the facility is. At least that's what's been voiced.
Just one further question. Is this going to result in additional lighting
This is not an illuminated sign in any way.
No.
Well, ground mounted lighting or whatever?
There's no lighting on the sign.
Well, thank you very much for my.
Thank you very much.
Your consideration.
Questions, concerns from the board members?
I'm just thinking back to some of our other conversations with people with signs, and I think that very small text to me is not necessary. I agree with Richard that you can't see it at all, it seems, and it's, I think we've had other discussions with other people where we've made them remove really small text or treat it differently.
But you know, because it's on the old sign, you know, you just forget about it. And so, you know, I kind of take it back. I mean, what you see is Arch Care and 21 Ferncliff Drive. I mean, the legal type, I never even saw it before.
I said if you eliminated the text, which you can't see anyway, then the sign could be smaller. And it'd be
Well, the
less
whole idea of
interactive.
what Scott was saying, and some of us think that sometimes the signs are too small driving by to begin with. I mean, this is not a terrible, it's not a billboard.
No, I think everyone on this committee agrees that our signage, the zoning laws for our signage needs to be revisited.
Yeah.
That it doesn't serve
Right.
people well. But I think if what you want is the legibility of Arch Care and the address, you don't really need to, but become a minority of.
Yeah, I would be with you if it wasn't on the prior sign,
Right.
but it's on the prior sign, and I was surprised that I didn't know it was on the
Yeah.
prior sign. It's on the prior sign. I actually think this sign is better, not just the coloring, but it just, like, for example, saying, 21 Ferncliff Drive versus just 21 and things like that. Those are enhancements to me. So I was with Richard and I was with you, but when I saw it on the old sign, you keep an open mind and it doesn't offend me. It doesn't offend me, and I don't know that the Dutchess County folks realized when they wrote this letter what was there.
Yeah, I mean, the timeline of this sign, before we got involved, it was probably 25 years ago. There were two single-sided signs that were 32 by 43, each on two treated posts. I think they were behind the stone wall. Okay, and if you go on Google Street View, I think you can still see those. That's how old the picture is from at least one of those maps. There were two of those kind of at a 45-degree angle to the road. That has been reduced to a single sign, double-sided, white, which is significantly more visible than the current sign. This sign has gone to a dark field with light colored text. That is, if you've seen a lot of the street signs and if the Manual of Uniform Traffic Devices, they will say that the most readable for the text is a light colored text on a dark field, which they have gone to. So essentially, the visual mass of this sign has been significantly reduced by using dark colored posts and a dark colored field. It brings the Arch Care and 21 Ferncliff forward. Those are the most visible elements. And, a member of the community, of the continuing care community of the Archdiocese of New York is kind of just, I would say that's legal copy that you might find at the bottom of an ad or something. It's something that they put on there. We were asked to do it. We can remove it if you like. I don't know that it helps it or hurts it either way. It just makes this sign non-compliant with the rest of their program throughout New York. That may or may not matter to them. If it's important to you, we can certainly remove it from the scope of work, and I'll tell them the only way that we're able to get the variance is to remove this text. And I think having a sign there with the Arch Care brand and the address is far more valuable than continuing to leave the existing sign that's in disrepair in place, and we can hopefully move to install a new sign.
If that legal text were to be removed, would you reduce the sign area?
I would not.
Okay. And Kathy, did you have a question about if it's legible with the coloring and?
No, I defer.
You don't have to defer.
No, I mean, it's not that big a deal.
Okay, well, I don't want you to give up your opinion, so we can disagree. We can. Reasonable minds can differ.
That's true.
So, but I guess my thing is that,
But if
it's such a distraction, those little letters, that I didn't even see it on the old sign. I mean, that's the thing. I don't think it takes away from the Arch Carol or the Ferncliff. You don't even see it. I mean, Richard and I didn't even know that it existed on the old sign. So I don't think it's a distraction, which I think is one of the things that's been voiced, is that little lettering going to distract from the other two important items, the Arch Care and the Ferncliff Drive. And I don't think that's so.
If you don't mind, Scott, I don't know if it was necessarily that it was a distraction. I think the comment was that if it was unnecessary, if they could remove it and then in turn reduce the size. Because, one of the, in addition to the overall criteria, which includes substantiality of the variance requested, is also granting the minimum variance.
No, I understand.
That would go with what the applicants requested.
Two questions, if I may.
Sure.
How many other signs are like this with this brand? I mean, locations, I should say. Are there 20 locations, 10, or do you know the answer to that?
That's an excellent question. We have done only the Kingston Plaza location in Kingston and Ferncliff. I know there are many around New York State. I don't know the exact number of them.
Yes, sir.
It is also, to be honest with you, it's not just signs. I think a lot of their promotional materials, their advertising, also contains the tagline, which is essentially a description and lets people know that this facility is run by the Archdiocese of New York, a Catholic religious organization. So for people who don't know what ArchCare is, it's allowing them to understand who the provider is. So it's, it would be like New Vance Health, and Northern Dutchess Hospital, New Vance Health, they're in the medical field. So to be honest with you, I would have to go back to the Archdiocese and ask them, is it okay to remove it? If they say yes, we're happy to take it off. The sign, we have not built the sign, we're waiting, so it's not like it's that hard. It exists right now in the digital realm, so a couple of keystrokes, that copy will disappear if it needs to disappear.
My second question is, are there a lot of accidents in this spot over the years because of signage?
I don't think so.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
But
So I guess my comment then is, they have a brand, they have a design. It's not in my purview whether it's legible or not. If they choose to have some type that is too small to read, that's their decision. The brand itself, the Arch Care, is visible, and I think that's what they want to accomplish. So I just don't think it's for me to decide how to design their sign and their brand.
I don't think you'd see it from the road as you're going by. You'd see Arch Care, and then as you pull in, and you're slow, and you're at 5 miles or 10 miles an hour, then maybe you see it. And other Catholic charities, like for example, Astor, to Catholic charities, and they say that, that they want to say who they are. So I don't have a quarrel with that. But. Is there anybody else here for this sign? Okay, any other questions, concerns, or?
One of the questions, they had two questions from the town of Rhinebeck Planning Board. They wanted to confirm that the height was the same, which we have stated, that the existing height versus the proposed height is just nothing's changing in the height.
No, dimensions and height are consistent.
They wanted to make sure that there wasn't any other, there was going to be no signage. This is what the language is. There's not going to be any signage for the daycare that's on the premises.
No.
Okay. And then they were curious if you confirmed with the county if this is in the right of way of the county has any issues with it, if it's in the right of way of the road or anything.
I have not, but, I can certainly
Yeah,
contact the
you
county.
could
and
just
ask.
double check with them. I think that was just their outstanding concerns.
But it is going in the same location, the exact same spot.
It is, if it was an issue, I
I-
feel like
if
in
it
the
was an
last
issue,
15 years, we should have heard about it by now, but I mean, I'm more than happy to make the call to them.
Okay. It doesn't hurt to
Yeah.
clear it up for the record if the planning board has that issue, but I can't imagine it is, because as you said, it's been there 15 years, so.
Same size.
Same size,
location.
same thing.
Second.
Understand. All right, any other questions, concerns? Yes, sir.
Scott, one more question.
Yes, sir.
if I may. If you're wanting to reduce that small text, why wouldn't you accompany that with a reduction in the size of the sign? You were pretty adamant that, well, if you remove the text, we're not going to change the dimensions of the sign. But why not?
Well, part of the readability of any typography is not just the size of the text, but what we typically call negative space around it. You know, it needs to have a canvas for that text to sit on, for the eye to, focus on.
Okay.
I mean, if we reduce that further, it does reduce that. And quite simply, we feel that this size as it is a fairly modest size for the speed limit on that road. I think the sign is already compromised by the stone wall that's in front of it, the mature trees that shade it. Further reducing the visual mass of the sign, compromises the readability. I think it's already, I didn't have any control over the background of the sign, so I think the fact that it's a dark reddish burgundy with black posts moving away from the white sign is going to further reduce it. The only benefit is that the arch care is white and there's adequate contrast there. So I think making the sign even smaller reduces the functionality of it, and it loses its impact and its usefulness.
Any other questions, concerns? Okay. Okay, at this time, I'd make a motion that we close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. All right. And what that means is that we have 62 days in order to render a resolution, but I am confident that Kim will have a resolution ready for the April 17th meeting, and we'll have the resolution for that date, so you'll have your answer.
Thank you.
Thank you, and if you could just supply that additional information about the right of way.
Certainly.
Okay, great, thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And for the board, I have a lot of notes, so I have a feeling I know where you guys are going, but any final thoughts on it, just to kind of clarify the direction?
I'm glad we had this discussion, and I'm glad we saw the old sign. And thank Mr. O'Connor for that. I don't have a problem with it, especially seeing the old sign that exists there now.
Okay, and you guys are okay leaving that member of the community there?
Using what?
Keeping that small text there?
Yeah.
member?
I don't have a problem seeing what currently exists.
Okay.
Okay, and we have one last public hearing, but as I understand, Mr. Williams has not.
Haven't heard from them?
Okay, so I just move that we continue the public hearing on the Williams matter. Do I have a second? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Kim, at some point in time, that's it for the public hearings, we're going to get to the applications. At some point in time, should we just keep doing this continuation? It's been for,
Well,
it's
the
got to be 6
benefit-
months easy.
The benefit to doing the continuation of the public hearing is that when Mr. Williams does come back, if he does, I guess we'll have to figure
Well,
that out.
that's what I'm getting at. Should we
But
communicate with them, or?
I think Gretchen had, I know not recently, but at least,
Last few
Last-
times I haven't heard from him at all,
yeah,
so.
last I knew from
He's
what
a-
Gretchen said was that he was working with John Decker, the surveyor, to get those measurements. And it had sounded like he was pretty close, but the benefit to continuing the public hearing, at least for now, maybe we will circle back to this, but it's that when Mr. Williams does come back, he won't have to renotice the public hearing, so it saves a little bit of money for him. That's the benefit. I mean, at this stage, it's not really causing any delay because it's just gonna be just keep moving on. I think if it keeps going this route, we might have to reach out to Mr. Williams, see if there's any status that he can provide to us.
And maybe every 3 or 4 months we reach out to them or something. I mean, this time next year, I don't think we should still be dealing with this. You know, so
Yeah,
there
I
should be
don't
some
know what the
finality.
concern is.
I did email him before this one.
Okay.
You have a statute of limitations.
There's not really.
Something, well, with latches, well, you can make it
Well,
something.
not
right?
even that.
No, I know, but I'm just saying at some point in
The
time,
statute of
it's
limitations really,
abandoned, essentially.
the statute of limitations is really to get the application in, which he has. He's gotten it in within 60 days of his initial determination. The problem was that when he provided the application, it didn't really provide the measurements that he needed for the variances, and that's important for the ZBA to determine, you know, what the variances are that's being granted. They were kind of like estimates, so we need.
They were fuzzy. They were fuzzy, and we needed exact, and we've been waiting and waiting and waiting. What I'm getting at is even in a lawsuit, that eventually the court gets tired and says,
I understand.
we're gonna
yeah.
dismiss it.
Yeah, I mean, I
And
think
that's
maybe
kind of
like you
okay.
said, in a few months. I think for now,
Okay.
it's not really causing any delay here, and it's just to allow him so that he doesn't have to renotice the public hearing.
All right, so,
So we'll definitely put a pin in it, and then we'll see if we can get some status from him.
all right, so I think it's on to new applications, and the first one that's on is the Babinski matter. Is there somebody here for that? Come on up. All right, so, good evening. Please do. State your name, address, and all that kind of stuff. And kind of just, we've looked at the application, but lead us through it, and you're on TV, so you can lead the public through it, and if there is enough information here, and that's what we're doing here, is we're not judging this, we're just seeing if there's enough information for us to accept the application. If there is, then you'll be set up for a public hearing. If we need some additional stuff, we'll let you know as we go through this, but we just really need to know what you want to do, and so if you want to take it away.
All right. Well, I'm Tom Babinski. We live on 54 Cedar Heights Road. And the reason we're here is because we're looking to put a deer fence around a small orchard that we're planning to install actually in 2 weeks. And so the reason that we need a variance is because we're looking for a 6-foot height as opposed to a 4-foot height. According to the code, we would be allowed a 4-foot height, but since this fence is going to be within 50 feet of the road, the 6-foot height would require a 2-foot area variance. And so we try to avoid getting a variance just by looking at different locations on the property. This ended up sort of being the only location that was going to work. There's another slide where I have kind of more visual of the property, but there's a forest area in the back of the property. This whole area is forest, so clearly we're not going to cut down trees to plant apples. And so we're left with this clearing over here. There's a separate drain field right here. So that's the reason it sort of has to be kind of close to this side property line, also close to the road. We also think that it's this is fine. I also think that it's not, at least in my opinion, not a material variance, and the reason for that is a few reasons. One, that part of Cedar Heights Road is kind of rural, residential, and agricultural. Literally just down Crosby Lane at the end of this road, there's an apple orchard. The owner there also has an 8-foot high fence, but it's within her property. There's other neighbors who have 8-foot tall deer fences in their backyards. So that's one. Number two, the construction that you just saw. If we could go back.
Yep.
So this is actually 8 foot tall. So this is just an example of the construction. It would be 2 feet lower than this. So the other reason I was thinking that the 2 foot variance wouldn't be too big of a problem is we're not talking about a picket fence that's going to obstruct the view. You can see clear through this. So when we plant the trees, you'll see the posts, but that won't be. It doesn't feel like that would be out of style with the neighborhood, and you'll be able to see straight through to the trees. And then I guess finally, the last reason I thought it wasn't a big deal is because we're putting apples in, so we're not doing anything that I think would be unwelcome. Yeah, that's pretty much the summary. And
Yeah, I know you said that there's some 8-foot fences in the area, but there's a setback and things like that,
Yeah.
and there's some differences.
Yeah.
Is 6 foot, and this is just a question, I don't know what the answer is, 6 foot enough to keep deer out?
There's a good chance that it is, and there's a good chance that it isn't. I originally started with an 8-foot, and what I learned was that getting an 8-foot variance would require this whole process, but also going through the planning board as well. And that's how I started out. Once I really found out how much effort, man hours, 3 meetings plus 2 meetings, 2 sets of letters going out, 2 sets of public hearings, the time, and I just didn't think that was a good use of Rhinebeck or my family's or mine, resources and the cost as well. So I'm kind of rolling the dice a little bit and taking a chance on the 6 foot, because that would only require 1 set, that would require only ZBA.
Is there any thought of, with the 6 foot, maybe putting some kind of plantings on the outside to help keep the deer, from, I'm told,
Yeah.
I'm not an expert, that if they have to get past a couple of things,
Yeah.
shrubbery and then a fence, they're less likely to get in, and that'll make it more effective,
Yeah.
potentially.
Yeah, and that was also, Brian Tam also had that suggestion as well, so that's a good idea. We'll definitely consider it. I'll probably be able to do that maybe on 3 sides, but not the 4th, because it's going to be the neighbor's property line. And also, since the fence is enclosing a small area and there's going to be trees inside, it's also why I think it might work, because you're probably not going to jump into a crowded area with trees. The other alternative to all of this, what people are doing, you can build a 4-foot fence, but have 2 layers of 4-foot fence, and deer kind of get confused by that. That, in my opinion, would look pretty bad compared to this, because it's almost going to look like a prison compound, essentially, with 2 layers of fencing. So that would get around the variance, but I think that's actually worse than just going through and having a variance and having 6 feet.
And that's what it would look like. I mean, I know that's 8 feet, but it would be a 6-foot version of that.
Just 6-foot version of this. This is a picture from the actual builder who is ready to go. This gate, the gate would be something like this, and it would be facing backwards away from the road. So the road, you wouldn't see the gate.
Well, one thing we often and almost always ask for are renderings. And is there any way for you to provide us with a rendering of how the 6-foot fence would appear on your property? We will go out, we do a site inspection, and we'll ask that it be staked out so we can actually see how it is on the property. But having a rendering to hopefully somewhat accurately show how it's going to appear on the property is helpful.
Yep, I could give it a shot myself, if that's possible. I was hoping to.
Your fence guy
avoid-
might be able to do it, maybe.
He told me he's not really part of any of this process, so like once I've got this all down, then let him know. I think he's probably spent a lot of time in these. I don't think he wants to do that anymore. But I could do it if it's okay. I could try to give it a shot, do it myself. It's not going to be professional. I'm really trying to avoid, for a small project like this, getting an architect or someone involved for a rendering like that. So if it's all right that it's not going to be, perfect, I could give it a shot.
I think so. Give it your best shot and we'll see what it looks like.
Give us a feel of what it's going to be. I'm sure you can do it. Yeah, you don't want to get an architect involved, for sure.
Okay.
It's crazy.
And we're going to have a site visit.
We're going to have a site
Yes,
visit, yes, that's true.
And there's one other thing that I want to talk about today. I know that this process is going to take a little bit of time. The trees are arriving from the nursery in 2 weeks. So what I was hoping to do is to install a temporary 4-foot T-post fence. And when I spoke to Brian about that, he had mentioned that he thinks that if this board agrees, he thinks he can just write a little note on my initial fence permit application. Just to say, just to okay that idea.
Yeah, I actually spoke to Brian about that, because my opinion was that the ZBA couldn't really grant a temporary thing, but what Brian pointed out to me was there's a section in the fencing and law which says, because he was saying that you can't really have like a temporary fence or anything like that, but it says here, section 2 says if you have some sort of like vinyl fence mesh on a seasonal basis to protect the landscaping from deer, that's okay. So Brian was kind of pointing to that when I spoke to him today and said that's what he kind of suggests maybe doing.
Yeah.
He's kind of mentioned, he said he wouldn't have a problem with that. He said, you know, he's happy to speak with you about that.
Okay.
He also mentioned like if you have kind of like the little mesh around each individual tree might be kind of like a way of helping to deter.
Yeah.
But that's what, I asked him if there was like a way, if there was like any sort of temporary permit or anything. That's what he pointed to. I can provide this section to you if you want to see
Okay.
what they're suggesting.
Got it. So the temporary fence would be, I don't think it would fall into this highlighted, this first highlight, because it would be rigid. I would actually have T-posts.
Yeah, I sent him your letter,
Oh, okay.
and I sent him the application,
Okay.
and that's what because he was thinking that the T-post wouldn't meet it because it would be too temporary. That's what he suggested.
Did you have to pull a permit on this?
That's how this all started. So I went,
How did it start?
it started by me going and trying to pull a permit for this.
Right.
So this was just a one-page fence permit application, and I thought this was going to be it. So I started in December, maybe end of December, beginning of January, something like that. So I thought this was just going to be like, okay, that's when I learned about the height restrictions. So that's when I learned that it was going to have to go to this board and to also planning, because at that point I put an 8-foot. So that's where it all started, from the permit application.
Yeah, and census student permits in Rhinebeck. And it's 6 feet, but if it's within 50 feet of a right-of-way, the height is 4 feet.
I guess my opinion, if I may, is, I mean, if this were a solid 8-foot fence,
Right.
that's one thing, but this gentlemen are trying to follow protocol, and then you find out what obstacles are in your way. So my personal opinion is it would be nice to figure out a way to have them move forward compliant with, you know, in some way that he hasn't been delayed, further delayed on this. And if a temporary fence like this makes it compliant, then in my opinion, so be it.
The temporary fence would look very much like the way like Cedar Hill Farm, which is down the road from us, they run cattle. It would look just like that, where you see T-posts maybe every 15, 20 feet. In the case of cattle, you see barbed wire. In the case of my design, I would just put a smooth wire across. So it would look just very much like a farm fence.
Brian thinks it can be possible. It's not a temporary fence. It's not like a temporary permit. So like that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Talk to Brian.
Okay.
He seemed interested to be able to figure out a way of doing this.
That-
I just wanted to make sure that he's not going to cite you for anything.
I understand, so then I'll just stick it with Brian.
Yeah.
I think we'll.
But that's what he's
Yeah.
pointing to this section, because he's like, if it's there to protect against deer and it's seasonal, which is kind of like the temporary thing.
Yeah.
That's what he was, you know, like I said, he said he has spoken to you, so maybe you guys can work on a plan to do.
And this is not a long process here. Okay, with us, I'm going to make it a motion that we accept the application. I think there's enough here for us to consider this. The public hearing is in April. I doubt we're going to have more than one public hearing on this unless we have a room full of people yelling and screaming about this, which I highly doubt. And then in May, we will have a resolution ready. So that's kind of the time frame.
Okay.
On something of this magnitude or lack of magnitude. So,
All right. Sounds good.
any other questions, concerns? Okay. Oh,
Does anything over 6 feet have to go to the planning board?
Yes, if it's over 6 feet generally, It has to be, it's a required special use permit.
I think the only way for me to avoid any of it would have been if this was in an active.
Yeah, I think, and you have to be it for ag use, like in a farm.
Which I'm not.
Yeah.
All
I
right,
tried to pull the, see if like a deer fence would work,
Yeah.
it didn't,
all right.
and so you said you wanted the renderings to see if you can work on. putting the
Right, do
renderings.
your best. So I was, make a motion that we'd accept the application subject to you giving your best efforts at giving us a rendering. And do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All righty, so we're gonna put you down for April 17th. I assume you can attend on the 17th?
Yeah.
Okay, and what'll happen is the folks around you will be notified about what you want to do. And then you will come here, you will make the same pitch. There may or may not be folks here who want to ask you questions or voice their opinion, yea or nay. And then I anticipate we'll probably close and hopefully have a resolution in May. That's the way it works, so.
Okay.
All right, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
All right. All right, we just have a little bit of housekeeping. And Kim has suggested that this is a type 2 action under 617.5, 12 under seeker, which I think is appropriate given the section which talks about fences. So I make a motion that we deem this to be a type 2 action under section 617.5, 12 of seeker. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And referral just to the planning board? Okay. And I think that's about it, other than putting a point person down. Anybody want to volunteer?
A point on.
Who's this point person?
It's just-
She's gonna write the resolution.
I will be.
Yeah, I just usually what I do is I reach out to you guys after you do the site visits,
Yeah,
and then
I'll
you
be-
provide me any more details.
Okay, great. All right,
Thank you.
so that takes care of that one, and then we have one more application, and I apologize in advance, because I know I'm going to mispronounce the name.
Give it your best shot.
Kodia?
Katoya.
Katoya. All right. That wasn't that close, I'm sorry.
No, no.
I know, well, yeah, at least I apologize before. Come on up, and I think you've seen enough that you know what we're going to need to see from you. So, again, state your name, your address, and then just go over the application for us again. We're just considering whether we have enough information to accept the application. We may ask for some additional stuff, and if we accept it, we'll put you out for a public hearing on the 17th of April, and so on. Okay, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Rob DuPont. I'm the architect for Al Katoya, who's the property owner. The site is 12 Bollenbecker Road. It's located in the RC5 zoning district, rural countryside. Al has owned this property since 2006. It's pre-existing non-conforming in that minimum lot size is 5 acres. This lot is relatively small. It was developed in 1964, and it's only 0.688 of an acre, so it's not even 1 acre. What Al would like to do is he's going to retire this year. Bless you. Al wants to retire, and he'd like to make the house a little bit more comfortable in his retirement. The house is relatively small. It's just a one-story Cape-style house. It's just about 1,000 square foot of living space. There are 2 accessory buildings on the property now. There's a garage, a detached 2-car garage here, which was permitted and built in 1996. And when Al first bought the property, he put up a gardening shed. This is only 144 square feet, it's 12 by 12. That was done in 2006, you did that, right, Al?
Correct.
Yeah. So, right. So, I initially met with Brian about this back in, I think it was the beginning of October, before Al had even hired me. And I went through all the zoning with him. And despite the fact that it's a relatively small lot, for the most part, it complies with zoning. The side and rear yard setbacks are 50 feet. The lot is only 150 feet by 200 feet. So the side and rear yards are no problem, but the front yard is 100 feet. So the front yard setback and the rear yard setback are basically the same line, which means that the lot is not buildable by today's standards. However, there is an exception in the zoning ordinance, and I forget exactly what the section is, but Brian pointed it out to me, that we're allowed to expand the building as long as we don't get any closer to the existing front property line. We don't need to seek a front yard area variance. So this is the addition that Al would like to put on, and it is actually set back farther away from the front yard than the current house. So the only issue that we have is the lot coverage in this zone is maxed out at 7%. And what Al currently has is he's at 6.9% already. This addition that we're proposing, it's 38 feet by 26 feet. This section of the addition is actually a 288 square foot expansion of the existing house. It's a 2-bedroom house and the bedrooms are really small. So he'd like to add a little bit extra square footage here to make the bedrooms a little bit more commodious and add a second bathroom. It's only one bathroom in the house. And he also wanted to make an entrance foyer, which is basically going to be right here. The front door basically goes right into his living room. So that's what this front is. And he wants to do a little covered porch here on the front as well, so the entrance is more clearly defined in the front of the building. The majority of the square footage is here. This is 676 square feet. It's a 2-car garage. Right now his garage is detached, so if the weather is no good, he's got to go out. Plus he has 2 beautiful cars, classic cars, which, well, one of them is a classic car, that he'd like to take better care of. So he'd like an attached garage to basically make that more feasible. Let's see. I think that's I do have some renderings if you'd like to see them.
Are they part of we have this?
Yep.
Okay, and I appreciate that, and it's very helpful. Colorized would be good.
That's colorized, and if you go back to the other
Well, the house itself and all that.
There are pictures of the existing house. Okay, it basically has tan siding with white trim. It's going to match that. Yeah, it'll match that. So these are the existing plans of the existing house. That shows the profile of the addition. And then the next sheet shows, there you go. So there's the existing house. This is the proposed addition. So that's that entry porch. There's the garage. And the exterior will match the existing house. Shingle color too. It's a relatively muted palette. Yeah.
Why do you need 4 garages? I know you have some classic cars. I mean, you need 4 bays because you have 4 cars.
I've been wanting to do this since I bought the property in 2006, but a lot of things came up. My daughter got married, my son got married, so money's got diverted to another place. Because when I have been going to work, I have to walk out of the house, across to the other garage, or park them outside the garage to store the others. So my dream was to be able to come in, pull in, if I store the cars, either the other one or one car in that new garage, I could pull in and use that garage, get out of the rain or the snow, and come right into the house. And it's basically just to enhance my life, my living.
And I have no quarrel with the house, the garage being attached to the house and all that. I'm just saying you really need to have the additional garage, the detached garage. Once you get this, if you got this, would you need that? And if you didn't need that, then you would have less of a variance issue as far as coverage.
The thing is, excuse me, since I'm coming up to retirement, I've been a carpentry teacher down in Bosse's for the last, actually 37 years I've worked here. And I teach construction carpentry and woodworking and cabinetry. So in my retirement, I'm hoping to take part of that garage and put a woodworking shop in it so that I would have a place to go and work on furniture or build cabinets or just do that kind of thing. So it's, I just love it here in Rhinebeck, and I've been driving 55 miles every morning, 51 miles every night to come home, because I don't like the Westchester vibe down there. And I was fortunate to move here from Vermont. My children went to Rhinebeck schools, got a great education, got to college. They're very viable. they're holding down good jobs, and I just love it here. I just love the rural fact of it, and I would never impinge on trying to change that. But this is more just to make my life a little easier and give me more options now.
So you're not proposing to have two garages, you'll convert the other one to a studio, wood shop?
Right, right.
Yeah, that's really my question. I mean, some people collect cars and they have, multiple cars, so they need multiple garages. That was the question I was really posing. I absolutely, I mean, if I was you, I would want to have my garage attached to my house too, so. But if you only had two cars, would you really need the other one? And again, that would decrease the variance issue.
Maybe what might be helpful is if you could change the labeling of the two-car garage and just put like in parentheses to be a combo studio or something, like just for future reference might be helpful.
I mean, we certainly, that'd be easy enough to do. It's a perfectly good building. It'd be a shame to rip it down just to try to get closer to what the zoning ordinance calls for coverage. It still could serve some utility, as Al just explained. I did have something that I forgot to mention too. Al's property is basically surrounded by one property owner. That's his neighbor, Mr. Dunn. I actually got in contact with Mr. Dunn. I walked him around. I showed him exactly what we're proposing, and he's actually considers Al a good neighbor. He didn't have any issue with it. It's not going to affect his property at all.
And we always like to have input from the neighbors, so if he wants to be here, or if he wants to submit a letter or whatever, having, the thoughts of the neighbor is very important to us.
Yeah,
and I know the area. We've been out there before, so.
Yeah.
And it might have actually been the Dunn.
I think
It was the Dunn property,
Yeah,
I
Dunn
think.
had a variance a few years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they were converting a barn or something to.
Yeah, he has a barn.
space.
Yeah. He's got a big farm.
Yeah. We were out there. So as you go out there, and the Dunn is at the end, are you on the
I
right?
think
It's
this
to
is
the left.
Dunn. This
It's-
is Dunn right here.
Yeah, that's-
And then there's two Dunns probably,
Right, well, he's got the big parcel here, he owns this parcel,
right?
and he owns this parcel.
Oh, so it
Now-
really is
now,
around it.
This here, this is a 50-foot right-of-way that's actually part of the larger Dunn parcel, this one here, which is, I don't know, it's a couple hundred acres or something, that's where the farm is. This is where his house is, and there's Al's house right there. So this 50-foot right-of-way is actually part of this larger parcel. This must have been done in the early 60s by the previous owner, or a couple of previous owners ago. So that's why, these lots are relatively small compared to the rest of the property around there. But no, Griffin was good with it.
Yeah.
He didn't have any issues, and he's happy to supply a letter. And Ted Braggins supplied.
Ted Braggins is another neighbor across from me.
Is that this one? Yeah.
Number 8,
I think it's that one.
Rhinebeck.
Yeah.
And I reached out to him, and I do have an email from him saying that he's got no objection to the addition of the garage.
So the more information we have from the neighbors, the better.
Okay. I can supply those letters to Gretchen.
Great. Questions? Concerns?
So Scott, for clarity, do you still want the colored renderings?
I know the representation has been made that it's going to be the same beige color that it is.
Yes.
Okay, so,
Here's a picture of it.
yeah, I'm not sure would be, I think I could do without it, unless others feel the need. When we go out to do a site inspection, which we do on all of our applications, we'll obviously need to have it staked out, the area.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's easy.
That usually comes after the public hearing.
The second little porch that you have coming out, that doesn't bring it closer to the road and require a different variance?
No, because this existing deck, which is,
Yeah, just go.
Yeah.
I was just going to show this, and then I can.
oh yeah, yeah. I put my laser away with it. Because that existing deck is closer than that is.
Okay.
Brian was very thorough, and I wanted to make sure I understood everything before I designed it. Mr. Chairman, when did you say the stakeout for the addition would have to be done?
Typically we go out after the public hearing. Yeah, after the public hearing.
Oh.
But, you know, there's no immediacy. That doesn't have to be done next week or something like that. So whatever's pretty much convenient. Sometimes people go before, but I always like to go afterwards because I like to hear the comments of neighbors and things like that before I go out.
Okay, well, we can, stay and we can split whenever it's needed.
And we'll contact. But anyway, that we're getting beyond ourselves. So, any other questions, concerns? No? Okay. I think there's enough here to accept the application, so I'll make a motion that we accept the application. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so you're on for a public hearing. That's April 17th. Will you be available on that date?
Yes. Al, you available?
I'll be available.
Supply whatever additional information you like. If your neighbors want to come out, that's always nice to chat. But if they want to supply letters, they can do that as well, or emails or what have you. Okay, all right. So we'll see you on the 17th.
Great, thank you very much.
Great, thank
Good
you.
evening.
Good night.
Thank you.
All righty, again, we have some housekeeping to do, and can you suggest that this application be labeled a type 2 under 617.517, which is granting an area variance for single family, two-family, and three-family residence. That seems right. So I'll make a motion that we deem this to be a type 2 action under section 617.517 of seeker. Do I have a second? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, and again, we just had a referral to the planning board. That's good. Makes it easy. And I'll take this one as a contact person.
Mr. Chairman, this project doesn't have to be reviewed by the planning board, does it?
It's not reviewed by the planning board, it's just when the ZBA is doing a variance, they refer the application out. The planning board will provide comments, like if they raise any concerns or don't raise any concerns.
Okay.
So it's not a
So like an
separate
advisory.
review, it's an advisory.
Yes, the planning board reviews everything. And then depending on where the property is, we may have other agencies that have to take a look at it. But this is a very, because of the area, it's a simple referral to the planning board. It's done in every application.
Okay, I understand.
So that's the new applications. So I guess we should go to old business. And let's see, Sean DeBon, that's the first one up. Okay.
So I drafted a draft resolution for the board, and I sent it to you all. You'll get a chance to read it and have any questions or comments or concerns or anything.
No. And as we spoke earlier, I think I'm the lead on this.
And there's copies available for the public for the resolutions up here.
I'm not sure I have one of the pages here for the
Resolution?
do you have a complete copy?
There's 3 pages.
Annual variance request, is that where you want to go?
I want to go to the decreeable, okay, yeah, now, okay, I got it, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's where we start. So, just for the record, I understand that while this is not been posted, there's copies of the resolution that's available. In the future, we are going to try to post the resolutions, a couple of days beforehand,
Yeah.
something like that. But in lieu of reading pages and pages of these resolutions, we are going to adopt the procedure of simply reading the important part, which is the last part that talking about what we resolved. So I will read that. Anyway, this is the resolution of the Town of Rhinebeck zoning board of appeals in the matter of the area variance application of Marie, is it Laurie? Chandemar, case number 1055. And after going through the analysis that's set forth in the body of the resolution, now therefore be it resolved based on all of the facts described above and upon the reasoning described above as follows. Section 1. The ZBA hereby grants the variances as requested by the applicant finding that the benefit to the applicant outweighs any detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood and community by such a grant. The applicant is converting an existing garage to be a pool house accessory dwelling unit. In utilizing the existing structure, the requested area variances are requested due to the existing location and size. However, in granting these area variances to keep the existing structures that already exist on the property, there will be no detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or the community by such a grant. 2, the granting of these variances are expressly contingent upon the following. The proposed conversion must be constructed in conformity with the application plan submitted, subject to any additional requirements and conditions that may be required by the planning board. Section 3, the granting of these variances shall be expressly contingent upon the applicant's full payment to the town of Rhinebeck of any and all fees and escrow deposits due in connection with this application and in full compliance with Article 14 fee reimbursement of the town of Rhinebeck zoning law. These variances shall not be deemed granted until all such fees are paid by the applicant. Section 4, the granting of these variances does not absolve the applicant from having to secure any other required permits and/or approvals. And 5, the area variances shall be null and void unless the proposed construction is commenced within 1 year of this resolution. And I thought Kim did a very nice job with the entire resolution. One thing that I liked in particular was the reference back to, was it last year? Maybe it was, yeah, I think it was last year.
Yeah.
Where we granted variances, and it was alluded to in the initial application that this, might be happening, that they might go forward and make the garage into a pool house, and I like that. It's not one of those kind of piecemeal things that we've had on occasion in the past, where a person comes and asks for something, and they come a year later for something else, and for something else, for something else, which we do not like at all. This was telegraphed and told to us that this might be a possibility in the future, and I appreciated that. And I appreciate the reference to it, but I think it makes sense. It's just going to make the property better by converting that, and so it was not a hard decision in my mind. But I want to hear from my board members.
Great. I went out when we did the other variance, and so have a sense of the property. Makes sense.
And I think, the three of us, right?
Yeah.
Three of us years here went out.
It was, they're doing a great job. It's very hidden. You can't see it from the road. I mean, it's, and it makes sense.
Yeah, and that's
the
the nice
garage
thing.
being right there.
Right. And it is hidden. There's a rock outcropping that prevents you from seeing it from the roadway. So anyway, any other discussion? Okay, I make a motion this time that we grant the application, the variances as set forth in the resolution that was drafted by Kim, and
I'll second that.
okay. And Gretchen, would you like to do the honors?
Sure. Scott?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you go. Thank you very much.
Alrighty, so.
Willow.
Yeah, she can stay. You can leave.
I was about to say, I didn't have her in here, so.
All right, so next is me, and come on up. I think, well, there may be changes or something or other I hear through the grapevine.
Yeah.
Okay, Jody, why don't you introduce yourself for the record, for the camera and everything else.
Hi, I'm Jody Mead, property at 23 Winston Drive, here in Rhinebeck.
Okay.
If we could actually go back to like the initial request, so there's been a bit of, I say potential change because I haven't made a firm decision.
Okay, now for the record, the public hearing was closed. I checked the meeting minutes, and then we went out and we did the three of us, we had quite a night Saturday when I visited you. And there was, I know you staked out the original area for the pool house or structure, and then you had another potential siting in the back
Yes.
of the property. But I understand that there may be some other changes you may be contemplating and
Yeah, so due to the fact that I was, talking to my pool company last summer, I've been trying to move forward since July. The pool company at that time, we were talking about a liner pool, stamped concrete patio, and coming back now at the beginning of the season, I wasn't completely locked into all of the pricing, and the pricing kind of bumped up. My neighbor Shawanti, who may not be coming in front of you because I don't think she needs a variance, but recommended I at least just have her pool company come out, which is installing a gunite pool and bluestone pavers and what have you, and had them come out, and lo and behold, the pricing differential between a gunite pool and the liner honestly wasn't all that different, and I think the value to the home would be significantly more. I had a realtor come out and I showed her this layout, and it's not a terrible layout, but because it is on the side of the house, that's really not as desirable as having a pool behind your home. So I guess we can go to the next slide. So
The drawing?
yeah, forgive me, this is my hand drawing. So what I'm trying to do, and I'm an attorney, but I do healthcare law, so this is not my area of expertise at all, but I had talked to Brian and Gretchen, just trying to understand the variance of, section 125-2783, and there is an or, so I get that, but being that I am trying to be completely behind the house, if you see this dotted line here, I have a to-be removed vinyl fence that the previous owner had put in, and that lines up to the edge of the garage here, so basically if we go straight out, it would be between here and here. I don't have an exact location, but it is 100% behind the house. And I had thought in my, reading of the statute that maybe it would have been a bit better for me in terms of getting a variance because it wasn't projecting closer to the front of the principal building. It's literally behind. But I guess my catch-22 is the fact that it says, or may not be located in both a required front yard. So I guess I'm at a significant hardship, because I have no backyard. If you look at this dotted line here, that is the 100-foot variance from my road. So I literally have no backyard. My backyard is my front yard, according to this.
Here's the four lines.
Right, and so here I have my back deck. I have a small piece of property, and that's it. So I thought maybe there would be some exception if I stayed behind the house, which I think would be a better vantage point for the neighborhood as well. You wouldn't be able to see it at all. Previously we were talking about having the pool on the side of the house, having a pool house, which you would probably see the ridge line over the fence. And I just think it's a much more desirable location for me as the homeowner, and for resale value, and for the neighborhood in general. But I guess I'm still stuck because I'm now, again, here's the garage and the deck. I want to be here, and I tried to draw that out, but it changes, the location. I think it makes it significantly less non-conforming. I was initially asking for a 60-foot variance. I had somebody out and we measured about, we want to take about 4 feet from this variance. The only problem with the variance is it's not a straight line. It kind of curves because of the curvature of the road. So it'd be about 4 feet here and, 4.5 foot as you get towards the side of the garage. So I guess my first question was to Gretchen, is public comment still open? Because I thought when we were looking at the alternate location for the shed, we were still under that public hearing. And then I also just wanted to understand, being that the public hearing didn't really give an image or picture or location, and it was saying the request is for, X amount of feet variance. I think it's actually 60 feet or 59 point something.
Well, we had renderings and all
You
that.
did,
so-
you did, yeah.
And I guess my thing was when we were out there, what we discussed, and I appreciate it, by the way, I thought, I think Brian and I may disagree, but I thought the second location that you surprised us with was a nice surprise, actually, having it in the back there. And my thing to you was, get to Gretchen and the rest of the gang.
Yeah.
This change in possible location of this one
Yeah.
piece, it may not be so substantial that we can't go forward today.
Yeah, understand.
And I liked actually having it back there. I thought that was a better location for it. But this is so different. And I agree that from what you're telling me, I think it is a better way to go. Unfortunately, it's so substantially different than what was put before the public that it's really a new application.
Well, is
And-
it, and is there a potential that we could reopen the public comment and meet again? I provide you the new renderings, and we meet on the 17th of April, and
Well, you're asking for new variances. They're different variances.
They're different.
Different locations. I mean, it's different. And I'm not trying to give you a hard time. It's just, it's so different. When we went out there, we were dealing with the same application. We were just moving the pool house from the side to the back. And that's close. It was basically essentially the same thing, just making that small movement, which was actually, in my mind, a good one. This is totally different, which, again, from what you're telling me, I think it is a better way to go.
it's also not asking. I'm not asking to have a shed.
Right, but what I'm saying is it's so different from the original applications. They're different variances, there's different location, it's totally different, and it is a
From a
different.
public hearing, though, I mean, again, I don't know the process. You're the experts on this, but if I were asking for more of a variance, I could wrap my head around that. But asking for a 60-foot and what went out in the public hearing to a 4-foot, and I know you need the numbers in order to grant a variance, I get that. But my request is that we reopen, I think you have the ability to reopen public comments, and I provide you with a rendering from my engineer of where exactly I'm proposing this.
We need a new
Well,
application, because
well,
your
you would
your
need-
variances are different.
I would say we can reopen the public hearing, you would have to renotice it. But I think what we're requesting is that we would kind of need to have the new renderings in hand. So that the board can kind of make sure that they have all the information, and then we can go forward with the same thing, so I wouldn't necessarily say it's a new application in that you have to start exactly from scratch, but you do need to provide the renderings. Would need to be provided to Brian's hand so that he can verify the size difference, and then it would need to be, so it's not like, it's a new application, but at the same time, it's a continuation of the public hearing, because you have to kind of put in a new application, you need to provide the new renderings, you need to have the new, not necessarily, you can have a revised determination.
It sounds like it's almost a semantic game in a sense. I mean,
But you do
you're going to have to go through the whole
have to do
process.
public hearing and everything.
Yeah, in a sense, and we're going to need new numbers on what the variances are.
No,
and
I
that kind of
understand that.
stuff, so.
I do. I just don't understand the timing. You're saying if it's a potential amendment to the application, and potentially not starting from square one, which if I'm doing, I guess I'm not sure of timing in the next meeting. I know it's April 17th. Is there a possibility of, reopening public or notice or what have you? And if I need to renotice, fine, and provide you with renderings, which I can do within a week. Is there a potential or possibility to get an approval on April 17th?
I think 17th would not work, but I think May might work.
Yeah, I would say, because
And
here's what I
what
would.
we could do is we can have the public hearing, because we're going to have to have a
Because I
renotice.
think that this isn't, I understand that you're going to get the new rendering and stuff, but I don't think I would recommend to the board to set a public hearing for April 17th based on this drawing, which is what we have currently in front of us.
Yeah, this is what I did this afternoon.
Oh, no, I
but
understand
I can
that.
get you something,
No, and I think you will be able to get us something because you provided us the information before. But what I'm saying is that I think perhaps if we treat April 17th as you being able to provide the board with renderings, kind of similar to how we had, what you had provided before. And then We could probably, assuming that the renderings are to the board's satisfaction, you know, the seeker really wouldn't change. Referrals, we would refer it back out to the planning board so that they can see the new design. We could set the public hearing potentially for May 17th.
And then maybe
And
have
then
a resolution.
we could perhaps have the resolution ready for May 17th. Because,
May-
you know, everyone was in support so far, so I don't think.
Yeah, and then like just from the strategy perspective, I didn't know what. Yeah. So on my last renderings, and Mike had represented them at our last meeting, but, you know, the variance, and I had confirmed that the accessory structure
May
includes.
15th, it's May 15th.
Okay. But accessory structure definitively includes a pool by
Yes,
the statutory definition.
yes. I did check that today too, because I know Gretchen mentioned that was a question. I did check then the.
I think we can push this thing along so that we can have a resolution for you on May 15th. And that's accelerated. It may sound like a long time, but it's really not.
That's about as quick as we can move.
Yeah.
I mean, because, think about it, they'll explain better than me, but if there weren't a change, what would we be doing tonight?
Approving, right? Right.
But there's a significant change.
Can we, I hear you. Can we just, I add another question if you don't, if I can ask. One. If you, not the previous image that you had up, but the one, it was much more detailed of the survey, and it provided like the patio and the shed, all the dimensions. This is kind of, this isn't it. It had like the dimensions of the patio around the pool. I don't know if you have an electronic copy. I know you had. Are those the two things?
One of them was slightly different.
Okay.
I think the one I had before was.
Oh, yeah, I think this one is it. So I guess question to you is, if I were to have gotten approval tonight for the current proposal and variance, is this all part of the variance? This is part of the patio, and I know that's technically not something that you're giving a variance on, but such that I could take the pool and shift it over this, like within that gray area, or?
No,
Okay.
when we write resolutions, we specifically say that you have to build it in conformity with what you've given us.
Mm-hmm.
You can't change it.
Yeah, I understand. I guess I was asking if this was part of the variance, like the patio, such that potentially, that you're not technically giving the variance on the patio though, right?
No, it's the pool.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and then I just didn't know the process for hardship and if that would be any more of an accelerated timeline. Because I don't have a backyard. You know, I have a pre-existing non-conforming
So
home.
for what the ZBA is looking at, they're looking for a balancing test, generally speaking, that the benefit that would be granted to you with the variance is granted does not outweigh the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare. And then there's those 5 factors which you saw in the application. That's the extent of what the zoning board is looking at. There's no additional hardship waiver or anything to that effect. In and of itself, it is a hardship because you know, by the zoning law, you wouldn't be able to build as you are, so you're asking for a variance from the ZBA based on the hardship that you can't meet the current standard. So you are seeking relief from a hardship, but it's based on what the standard is, which is those 5-factor tests.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line, if you listen, I mean, the 3 individuals that were out on the site, I think this makes sense. The problem is, you've got to give us the documents, and that's going to take until the next meeting. You've got to submit that stuff.
And may I just add, Brian, to it, you would need Brian Tam to be able to review this before you can issue the public hearing notice. So the sooner you can get those plans finalized so that Brian Tam can review them and give us those new numbers, that's really what's also going to be able to help you as well.
And thank you for pointing that. That's my next thing, that you're going to talk to Tam, and it sounds like he'd be on board with this, and move forward.
And
May
60
15th
days
is,
that's really accelerating it. And you know what, I know it sounds, as a matter of perspective, it seems like 60 days is a long time, but you know, in the scheme of things, from what you're proposing, it sounds like, in my mind, a better a placement and just better overall. And it's worth the 60-day delay for having all the benefits of this improved design going forward, for years to come.
Yeah, just don't change it again.
Yeah, please, we're begging.
I don't plan to.
And then, then you gotta talk to your contractor, and he's gonna be booked, they're gonna be booked out anyway, so you could schedule, we'll get it done.
Okay.
You don't have,
Any other questions?
I don't, any questions or anything?
And we just look forward to seeing the new application, or not the new application, the new design.
Revised application.
Yep, that is design.
All right, so I'll talk to Gretchen tomorrow.
And Brian is out next week, just so you know.
So does that then set me back? You mean, so today's Wednesday, if I can't, for Friday?
yeah, I mean, Brian's busy, so, I mean, you gotta.
That's why I wanted to specify that
Yeah.
we're working as best we can, but we do need Brian's determination letter.
Okay.
And we also need to make sure that the renderings, are sufficient, like the last ones that you sent, so that, you're not delayed by any means, that, we need this or that.
Yeah, and then just to confirm, I think the last time you had requested the renderings, the main concern was the shed, the pool house from the house or from the road, what that would look like. You're now, you're not seeing anything different from the side of the road. I provided renderings of, the to-be-built fence along the perimeter of the, staked out perimeter. From the road, it will not look at all different. But I can give you a rendering of what the pool will look like behind the house. But it won't be like street level or what have you.
I think you commented out there,
I thought it was not a good place for the pool to be in. I said it should be on the other side of the house. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like it to be there, but the septic is there and the leach fields. I buy a new house if the interest rates were lower. It's just, I can't do a thing with this house. I have no property on 3 acres that I can do anything there.
But going to the hardship question, one of the questions that the board does consider is, if there's another feasible location that doesn't require variance, this would go to what you were saying, that you don't have a backyard, that,
Yeah.
you have septic. So that's that would be what you would focus on for that hardship question that you were just demonstrating. There's not another place for it to go or something.
Yeah. I mean, I own this whole, I own 3 acres of like woodlands. I could eat into the woods. I just don't think that's the best thing to do either. But I could just say, I'm going to forego the variance, and my contractor recommended that I do that, and just go out, like literally right outside the line, and eat into the woods. And I could do that too, but I prefer not to, because I feel like it's more of a safety concern having the pool closer to the house. I think it's more aesthetic, but
It also drops off like crazy back there.
it's a gunite pool. It's a reinforced steel wall, so they can do it. But I prefer not to, but coming up on July, it'll be a year that, and again, I know this is I'm changing this, so it's not. I appreciate your advice and counsel here, so. All right, thank you.
and Brian's up next week, huh?
So what can I do in terms of timing?
I mean, you do have a month before the next meeting, so I mean, I think if Brian can do it the following week.
Okay.
I mean, unless there's any way you can get it in tomorrow, he is in on Friday this.
But I just wanted to say, we want good rendering so that, we don't have to take April and ask you for, so don't
We'll
move
have to do another
forward,
site
but
visit,
don't
right?
rush it so that
Yeah.
we're gonna have a problem.
Yeah,
with
Brian
the
will just kick
rendering.
it back anyway.
Yeah, we should.
And we'll come out again.
Well, I mean, Brian doesn't need
Before.
rendering. We need like the survey with the numbers. That's what Brian needs. He doesn't need the pictures of what it's going to look like.
No, we need the
You
picture.
need the picture,
We
right?
need
Brian
the
does
picture.
it.
what's
Yeah,
going on.
got it. Okay.
And we'll come out again and just to see the area and have you get an idea what it's going to be, just like the last time.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, and the last item is Barry. Is there anybody here? Aha. So we're going to read the resolution on Barry, and I don't know who was the point person on that.
Right.
Brian.
Right?
This is your big moment, Brian.
I just need the paper.
So, again, this was drafted based on the CBA's discussion at the last meeting. There are drafts available for anybody in the public who would like to Should say on the first page through the,
Proud of yourself, aren't you?
Now therefore, be it resolved based on the facts described above and upon the reasoning described above as follows. Section 1. The ZBA hereby grants the variances requested by the applicant, finding that the benefit to the applicant outweighs the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such a grant. The pool and surrounding fence are located on a flat portion of the property. Two neighbors have voiced support for the variances, and the addition of the pool and fence are in keeping with the residential character of the neighborhood. Section 2, the granting of these variances is expressly contingent upon the following: that the proposed pool and fence must be constructed in conformity with the application and plan submitted, subject to any changes required by the planning board or the site plan approval necessary. Section 3, the granting of these variances shall also be expressly contingent upon the applicant's full payment to the town of Rhinebeck and any all and all fees and escrow deposits due in connection with the applicant in full compliance with Article, what is that?
14.
14, service. Well, we're doing this. I haven't done it in a while.
Atlantic Catholic School, I think.
Fee reimbursement of the town of Rhinebeck zoning law. These variances shall not be deemed granted until such fees are paid in full by the applicant. Section 4, the granting of these variances does not absolve the applicant from having to secure any other requirement, permits, and/or approvals. And Section 5, the area variances shall be null and void unless the proposed construction is commenced within 1 year of this resolution.
Okay, so now we have a comment, and I'll start it. The three of us went out there, and I know the property from prior applications. I think there was a variance granted for the, I want to say the front kind of porch.
There's a hot tub in the back.
I think there was something.
I think you said there was something
Before, even before that.
Oh.
Prior owner, and the house was renovated and yards. But anyway, the only place you could put this pool would be the area where it's being proposed, and there is that, rock outcropping that's going to shield it. I mean, I don't think you're going to see, if you see anything, you're not going to see much. You might see some fencing or something like that, but, honestly.
Well, they even said the fencing will not be seen from the road, but I'm not sure. I think the fencing might be seen, but
Yeah, it might
still.
see a little bit. I don't know.
It was not bad.
Yeah, and just given the area, I just, when you're driving by, you're not going to see it.
I agree.
And really, there's no good place, given the topography, I mean, everything drops off. You go down the driveway, you got the garage, and then in the back, it just like drops to oblivion. I mean, it's a severe drop-off, so it really, and I think the side of the septic issues or something. So, I didn't have a problem with that. I don't know what the rest of the gang thinks.
I'm with you. We were with you.
So it was a logical place for the pool.
Yeah.
Logical is the,
Yeah. And I think the other thing was whether Central Hudson lines too, so you had to make
Yes.
sure it was away from that.
the planning board felt as if that it would be, it said that, they said that trees would be marked that were going to come down. I don't think they were marked.
I think the planning board had suggested that a survey, they thought that trees would be removed anyway. And I think Brian had asked the last meeting that they be marked during the site visit. I think the applicant had mentioned that they were likely going to be tearing them down, whether the pool was there or not. But I think Brian had asked that the trees be marked.
I kind of remember maybe, it was a while ago, like 3 or 4 or something, not many.
I was curious about it, but then once I was there, I realized that it's not.
Well, there were a few trees down, but the point was, I mean, that's where the pool was going to be. But without taking more trees down to the south, then the pool's gonna have a lot of shade. So I don't know what the plan is on that.
Well, I mean, you guys were out there, when you were out there, there's no more trees coming down.
Okay. And, could you state your name?
Kevin Nelson,
Okay.
Sean Berry's husband.
Okay. Just for the record.
No more trees coming down, thank you.
No more trees coming? Okay.
Good.
Whatever you saw that was there was staying.
Well, I remember the area being very clear. I mean, it was staked out, never,
Yeah, it was, yes.
so it was, that was the spot. There were no trees there or anything else, so.
Do you want to include any statement in here about that?
We could,
I think
that
I
the,
had a section here. Says here, this is, I think, for the planning board, okay, so here, this is under section D, which says, will the proposed variances have an adverse impact? I have here, the ZBA did ask the applicant about the removal of trees, and to mark any trees that will be removed, the applicant indicated certain trees would be going to be removed anyway, regardless if the pool was installed or not. I can even just say, let's see, should we just say,
you can say that, you know, board members, you know, had a site visit and, you know, observed the area and the applicant has represented that no additional trees will be removed or something like that.
That's good.
I'm not sure that makes English, but.
That was good English.
Lawyers, I'd be doing motions and stuff like that. That's why I go to court, because I
Don't
can't
even
speak.
know Roman numerals.
Well, you didn't,
so I have here,
that's the benefit of nuns.
the ZBA conducted the site visit and observed the area. The applicant has represented that no additional trees are proposed to be removed. Good?
It's great.
Okay.
Any other comments other than what we've heard so far? You want to make a motion that we adopt the resolution as read with the changes that Kim just made?
I do.
And I will second it. And Gretchen, would you do the honors?
Sure. Scott,
Of course.
Catherine,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Brian.
Yes.
Okay.
Smooth as silk. And that is it for our agenda. Kim, anything we need to talk about?
I don't think.
Thank you
so.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, enjoy your pool.
Still wild.
You have a nice spot there.
Okay, well, motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right.
Third, fourth, fifth.
What, that's okay? Approved, we're out of here.